Welcome to What the Health? Where anything health is fair game as we tackle the trends and bust the myths about health and wellness. Here are your hosts, Dr. Dan and Angela Toro.
And welcome to another episode of What the Health. I am Dr. Dan here with two of my co-hosts this morning.
Dr. Riley.
And Angela. Welcome, guys. As always, you know the drill at this point. We're here for informational purposes only, in no way offering individualized medical advice. Always talk to your trusted healthcare provider before making changes to your particular routine. So, with that being said, I think this will be a good one today. I feel like this is one we all kind of need to talk about.
Yeah,
after some recent.
Yeah, we've had a couple recent incidences with patients who I think just kind of a misunderstanding of, maybe where they were at in care or where they were starting at. And so we have this wonderful poster on the road. We're going to talk about the road to recovery, this wonderful poster on the wall in our exam room. And it literally is titled The Road to Recovery. And it's got a nice path of, starting down in like the acute crisis, the suffering, a lot of symptoms, and then it moves up towards, an optimization and enhancing a wellness phase. But then part of the problem, that we see a lot of times is where patients will, they'll come in with a specific issue and then, and then they'll, maybe recover just a little bit, get out of like crisis mode, feel a little bit better, but then they just stop care. Whether it's because, a third party insurer did not, reimburse, or, just because like that's what, they just wanted to get out of pain. And so, in any event, they just made the decision that it was time to stop. And so then they start this yo-yo, right? Where it's like they get a little bit better, feel a little bit better, but then they'll stop. And then maybe, a month or two goes by, they feel okay. Then a couple months down the road, it's like things start flaring back up. And so then they start this yo-yo pattern without ever truly strengthening and stabilizing their health and well-being. So I think that's the discussion that we really want to get to at the heart of today is, these phases of care that and again, it's all blended together, right? It's all one journey, but these kind of like categories of care that we use in the office, to kind of help someone, understand where they're at and where maybe, help us understand where they'd like to get to, and ultimately us providing the tools and resources to help them get there.
Yeah,
so.
And I think on the other side of, the people that might start feeling a little bit better then stop, you get the people that maybe don't feel like, in quotes, it's working because they're not magically feeling better after one or two adjustments.
Yeah.
And so it's
or even 4 or 5.
Exactly.
6 to 8 adjustments.
Yeah. So it's getting, and again, and those are, and it seems to be both of those people tend to have a disconnect between what they're perceiving as where they are versus where they physically actually are.
Yeah.
And so that's, the people that are like, well, why don't I feel better right away? Well, they probably have some really intense things going on that are going to take a longer time to correct, even if they don't feel that bad. So there just seems to be that disconnect as well, where people aren't understanding that it's not just an instantaneous one and done.
Well, and that's the big challenge of helping people understand that the intensity of symptoms really has nothing to do with how long, a condition, and one of the conditions we talk about in the office is subluxation, right? That's the misalignment or locking in the spine that's really impacting your nervous system communication throughout the body, that will impact your health and well-being. And so, the intensity of symptoms really does not necessarily, go hand in hand or correlate very well with, how severe someone's condition is. One of the great example, and I think we talk about this a lot in the office, is you can be the healthiest person in the world, stub your toe on the bed or touch a hot stove, and you're going to be in an intense amount of pain. But, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like those are, two signals that you just did something and, need to quickly remove yourself from the situation. That's what the pain reflexes are for. But, that acute intensity of pain someone else might just have a little, tingling and numbness, or maybe like a dull achiness in their low back. And it's not like debilitating. It's there, they wake up in the morning, they, try and, get out of bed and they feel a little stiff. And it might slow them down a little bit, but it's not necessarily going to, debilitate them or interfere with their activity level now, right? It might not interfere with their activity level now. And I think that's where we strive to make the connection of what could happen if you don't do anything about it right now. Like, right, those little signs, those little check-ins of like, hey, maybe you're just having some minimal muscle stiffness. Maybe you're just having a headache, flare up once a week. Maybe you're, you're having some indigestion or, some reflux, and, maybe you are starting to take some medication. Angela, you just had that, individual you were working with who was popping medication like crazy before her workouts just to get through her workouts, right? And so I think that, there's that disconnect with, patients in terms of what they grew up with and their understanding of health and well-being.
What's normal.
Yeah, what's normal, but like also the different models of healthcare, right? So many of us, even we did. We talk about this a lot. Like we grow up in that medical model.
There was always Advil and Tylenol.
Yeah.
Cold medicine, anything you can imagine at the house.
It's like a medicine cabinet.
Pantry,
literally, we have medicine cabinets. Yeah, there's, you go and buy a house. You're going to be you're going to be a homeowner as of tomorrow, right? Provided everything goes through. So it's like I could almost guarantee if I go to that house you're buying, like there's probably a built-in medicine cabinet.
Bathroom behind the windows.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got a little magnetic mirror, and you open it up, and it's got the built-in medicine cabinet, and it's perfect size for pill bottles. Line them up, So, we're in this model. Unfortunately, we're in this model of like, well, hey, if I have this symptom, I'm going to take this medication, and the model has done a great job helping people understand, well, like if the pain or the ache or the symptom goes away.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. Yeah. And I'm better.
Yes,
right? Rather than we know the reality of the situation is you're just, you're just covering the fire, the fire alarm, right? The smoke detector that's actively going off. You just covered that smoke detector and, to hush the alarm. It's still going off. But you're not getting the massive pain signals because you're quieting the symptoms. So
I think we do a good job also in the office of teaching people about that. Some people come in thinking headaches are normal, or they won't realize, like the new patient I had a couple weeks ago, she came back for her day 2 visit and she's like, I'm starting to notice some different things that I thought was just part of my everyday life. But no, that's just like we said, the beginning start of the road to recovery, you kind of realizing you're in this acute pain and stuff, and that's not normal.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting you say that too, Dr. Riley, because sometimes, if you don't have a lot of intense symptoms and then, we start making corrections in the body, we find these areas that are locked up in the spine, we find areas that are tight and help people start stretching, they go in these first couple weeks and then they start recognizing like, oh, well, that feels weird, that feels different, or that's, like I'm actually aching more in an area, because now the body's starting to move differently and more efficiently. And so now muscles and tendons and ligaments are pulling in a way that they have not been pulled before. And so now you're actually becoming more aware of like some of these, aches and pains because your body's becoming, more self-aware of what's going on. So, I think that's kind of like this idea of road to recovery. First and foremost, it's so important to understand, well, where are we starting at on this path to recovery? We do have some patients that come in and like they've been to, other chiropractors or physical therapists, or, they've done a decent job with, kind of maintaining their level of function and, doing some level of, maybe it's a once a month check-in, a once a month adjustment. And so they come in and they're not in crisis mode. They're not in this Q mode, but they've really never like fully gotten out of, like, they're constantly in this, like, stabilization mode. Like, they're kind of stuck in the three phases that we really look at in the office are your acute crisis. That's when, you can have any number of symptoms. Maybe they're a little more intense. Maybe they're not so intense, but you've got this, acute crisis going on, and you hopefully want to help fix that. And then we talk about, like, okay, well, now what is it going to take to, like, stabilize your system and start to strengthen some things so that we prevent you from going back to that acute crisis phase. And then, once we get through that stabilization phase, we look at the final, which is, the goal for everyone would be to get to that enhancement and optimization. But I mean, I would argue that a lot of people, can't or don't get there, right? Yeah. Because, they've, and I'm one of the most positive people. I feel like I'm talking a lot here, but, like, I feel like I'm one of the most positive people. So it's like, I'm always trying to give people hope. But the reality of the situation is a lot of people don't start regular care, or, whether it's chiropractic care or whether it's an exercise routine, or they don't do any level of a routine work on their body other than their maybe once a year, every other year, once every 5 year check-in with their medical doctor. Yeah. They're really not doing any sort of ongoing routine for their health and well-being. So by the time they actually start that, they're in crisis mode in their 40s, 50s, or 60s. And, for them to be able to actually get to an optimal level of health, I mean, it takes a significant level of time, energy, effort, and sometimes finance, depending on where you're investing those, that energy, to actually optimize, that level of health and well-being. So,
yeah, I mean, we don't really do preventative care in this country. I mean, we do as
yes, and more and more people are starting to.
We as a society are very corrective. Something goes wrong, you try to correct it. But until then, I mean, the amount of people. I was just talking about somebody, this the other day. People in this country think that exercise is a tool for weight loss. Like, that's what. Yeah. That's just another association that our society has made. It's like, so if people aren't overweight, or if they're not athletes, or they're like, why do I exercise? Like, because you do, because that's...
because our bodies are built to do it.
Because we're not designed to sit in a chair for 24 hours a day. And, and it's just, just this idea. And again, it's not until people, get to the point, like a lot of people I'm working with are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and are now realizing, oh, I'm losing the strength to, now all of a sudden it's like, oh, now do you understand why you needed to be exercising your whole life? Because now you can't get in and out of your car. Now you can't get up a flight of stairs. Now
you can't get off the floor with your grandchildren.
You can't get on the, on the floor, let alone off the floor.
Down is usually easier.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, most of them, they can't even get down, so it, I mean, all of a sudden it's like, oh, like, and these are, guess what? Those are all motions we do at a gym. Like, up and down, squat, that's how you get out and out of a chair. Lunges, that's how you get down to the ground. So it's just, but again, making those associations for people. And I think chiropractic's the same way. We people all the time, why don't I have neck and back pain? Why
would I come in?
Yeah, why would I need to see a chiropractor? Or they wait until they have the neck and back pain and then don't understand. It's like, okay, well, we understand you're having this neck and back pain, but
and it just flared up a week ago.
Yeah, but like, look at your spine. Yeah. This didn't happen a week ago.
Yeah, that's such a good, disconnect that we really have to help people understand is that, okay, just because the symptom just flared up, a week or two ago, or even a month ago, it's like, I'm looking at your spine. And that's why we do x-rays in the office. I mean, the x-rays tell a freaking story. Like, how many times, Dr. Riley, do you, look at someone's x-rays and it's like, oh my God.
You take that x-ray and you look at them, you're like, I'm kind of surprised you're feeling the way you feel. Like, I think you're lucky.
Are you sure you're okay?
Yeah. Right? Because, it's like, oh, it's not that bad, right? We get that a lot. People always want to, under...
Yeah, they'll, the stages in the video, they'll be like, I think I maybe, or phase 1, phase 2. And I'm like, I think you're a lot worse than what you really believe to be.
Yeah, but they feel okay, right? They feel, again, that's where the intensity of symptoms. It's like, they might feel okay. It's like, again, other than a little bit of stiffness and soreness, they're like, oh, all right, well, I feel fine. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, but you can't get down on the ground and get back up. You can't drive to the grocery store and get out of your car without, aching, so it's stuff like that.
Or even things like people don't realize, their energy levels and things like that,
Sleep,
you feel fine, but like what's fine? I mean, you sit at a computer all day and then would you like to have the energy have you even had the thought of like, maybe I should go for a walk, maybe I should, move around a little bit, maybe I should, go do something. It's like I feel like we've just set the bar so low on what fine is. It's like, and again, because we talk about this all the time, technology is great in so many ways, but it's also taken away the need for so many things. So many things that, it's like, oh, you don't have the energy to cook? Well, pull out my phone and look, food appeared. That's
a great point. Like we went up to a friend's the other day and she was teaching us how to can, can some vegetables. And it's like,
that's a process.
We were on our feet for 4 hours in the kitchen, cooking and, slicing and peeling and,
that used to just be the norm.
Yeah, that was the norm.
What people would do.
Yeah, especially before electricity and refrigerators. It was like, they would can things for, in the early 1800s, the settlers, it's like, they didn't have electricity. They didn't have freezers. So it was like, that was the norm. And it's like, you were expected to wake up with the sun, go out in the, in the field, go, pick or, pull or, do something, go to school if you were a kid.
All the basic motions, push, pull, bend and twist. It's like, these are the functional movements that I work with people all the time. And it's like, that's why they're the functional movements, because they're the ones that we literally need to survive. Well, used to need to survive. Now it's, can you roll from one thing to another?
And thumbs work.
Yeah, literally. Well, no, because now you can order things with your mouth. It's like, it's crazy. I could literally ask Alexa to bring me something and she would. Right? I mean, it's just...
Well, there was a comedian a while back. It was, was it Jim Gaffigan or... No. But it was like, it was getting to the point of ordering food.
And he's like, and can you feed it?
And can you come in the door and bring me the food and spoon feed me so I don't have to get out of my chair.
I think about that. It's like, that's basically where we're at.
So again, I get it. But, being able to do some of that, and we talk about exercise, but it's more functional movement.
Exactly. Yeah,
from the idea, even like when I go out in our garden and I, pick some vegetables or I pull some weeds, it's like just getting down into a squat position. Like that's a functional movement. And, one of my hopes is that I can continue to maintain the ability to get down and do that well into my 70s and 80s. Yeah. And, a lot of people can't because...
Well, and that's, a lot of my clients are because this road to recovery, I mean, it's not just from the chiropractic side, it's really you can, apply that to anything with health. And so a lot of my clients are, they come in and, they're like, oh, well, this is so hard to, just do the basic stuff. And I'm like, well, yeah, but that's because you're in the acute crisis mode. You're in, so it is going to be, we have to get through that. We have to get to the point that you can get up out of a chair without using your hands, that you can walk across the floor without using your cane before I can start having you do anything more than that. And it's the progression's great. I mean, I've gotten a lot of these people from that acute crisis to the actual strengthening where I have them doing, people that at the beginning, everything was against a wall or I was literally standing right there because I was worried they were going to fall, just doing the most basic stuff to things where I'm like, okay, we're actually going to start having you stand on one foot. I'm still right there, but I had Diana using the TRX strap, just holding them and just lifting and extending the leg. And when I showed her, she's like, you want me to do what? And I'm like, it's like, you can do this. It's that. And and just doing that a couple of times, it's amazing to see that, you have to get through that mental block and then the physical block. But it's, people want to go right to that, join a gym and they want to be right to that optimum. Like, well, why don't I look like the trainer? Well, because the trainer's been doing this every day.
For 30 years.
Yeah. Oh, even your son, when he was doing the teen group, he's like, why do you make that look so easy? I'm like, because I do this every day and have been doing this every day since I was pretty much your age. So just do it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's about building on a strong foundation,
Yeah.
right? Like if you don't have a strong foundation, then and that's where injury occurs too. We talk about
people,
prevention.
because they try to go from like
0 to 60, and they go from 0 to 60 age-wise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like.
But yeah, it's you have to build that foundation, and the same thing with adjustments, right? Like if you've got 40 years of damage and minimal chiropractic care, minimal exercise and mobility, and
40 years of sitting at a
40
computer.
years of sitting forward, and I even think of someone like a Ben who came in and he's been coming regularly for like 7-8 months now. And one of the big things, and he's a very tall man, but when he came in, like he was slouched, like significantly, probably like 3 or 4 inches short of what his full height is, because he was just slouched so far forward, because he does a job where he's up and down, manual labor, and and he just, like, at the end of the day, like, couldn't stand straight because his back was seized up so much. But going through regular adjusting weekly for 7-8 months now, like we've really been able to see, like, dude, you're so much taller. And he's even had friends tell him, like, how much taller. My goodness, am I getting shorter? Are you getting taller? Like, what are you doing? But it's that unwinding of the stress and just building that strong foundation. It takes time and repetition, and if you don't have a strong foundation, it's a lot more frequency in terms of the adjusting, the exercise, and so laying that foundation is so incredibly important, even if you don't have a lot of intensity of symptoms, but a lot of people, like you said, Dr. Riley, it's they don't even realize they don't even realize like where they are on this path to optimal health. Like they think like, oh well, I feel okay, so I'm like middle of the road. But like we're looking at them like, you can barely get in and out of your chair. Like it's
and I feel like that's in terms of the road to recovery like timeline. I almost feel like the acute pain, crisis patients are almost easier to work with because you can get that fixed so quickly.
Yeah.
I think when the people come in at that, decision of like, all right, I'm feeling decent, but we're showing them, hey, x-rays are bad, thermal scans are bad, functional movements are bad. It's that decision. It's like, all right, you can take it to the next level. But it's really, that's where the education is so important for them, because that, I think, is the most critical, but also hardest to get them to commit to.
Yeah. It is. It's tough because, again, it's like it's a level of understanding, and it's breaking that old mold of like, well, I'm not in pain, so why do I need to do this? And it's like, we're trying to be the the contractors or the home inspectors, showing them where their foundation, their chimney, their whole house is crumbling around them, holes and leaks in the roof, but it's not raining, so the roof isn't leaking. But that's it, right? But isn't that that's the whole thing with the body. It's like the rain is an added stress to the house. It's like, if the roof has holes in it, no big deal if it's not raining. But then it's like, boom, you get a pouring down rain, and now all this water is pouring into your house, and it's like, well, now, so that's the stress in life, right? So if you are, you might be quote unquote okay, I'm not in a lot of pain, discomfort, but if you add a layer of stress, maybe it's mental, emotional, if family member passes away, someone gets diagnosed with cancer, a son or daughter, job loss, son or daughter giving you a really hard time, mentally, emotionally, like whatever the case may be, we have those mental, emotional challenges, but then we also have those physical challenges. I think of something like, when I was your age, Dr. I remember very vividly one morning when I was coming to the office, I ran down my front steps of my house. Well, there's black ice at the bottom of the steps, and I did not see it, and it was dark in the morning. I hit it, and I did the cartoon, feet right out from under me, and I went flat on my back. But because my body was strong and I reflexed, I pulled my arms back just almost automatically. And because I pulled my arms back and my shoulder blades to my spine, the brunt of the impact actually hit the back of my arms and elbows. And actually, I don't think then I hit my head, because I just reflexed and tightened everything up. And again, if my body wasn't strong, imagine the average 50, 60-year-old doing that. You're talking about significant possibility of concussion, fracture. So if you keep a strong muscular system and then you add a physical stress, you're able to adapt like that. Think about stepping off a curb. How many people do we have, you step off a curb funny and it's like, you twist your ankle, your knee, your hip, or you do fall down because you can't adapt to that, that added level of stressor, that added obstacle.
I stepped wrong. I feel like I hear that all the time.
I stepped wrong. I slept wrong.
Even that.
It's like, if your body can't adapt to those situations, pliability, we talk about this in the nervous system, right? The nervous system adaptability. We call it neuroplasticity, right? It's plastic, it's pliable, it has the ability to adapt to situations versus a rigid nervous system. A rigid nervous system it's stuck, okay? And it's rigid, okay? And when you're rigid, then you don't have that adaptability, right? We've all seen the example of talking about like functional movements of they're doing football drills and it's like you have, person stand up and, stand, straight up and tall and, super rigid. And then you go up to them and just, give them a little push. And then what do? They stumble backwards. Mm-hmm. But it's like now get into a good athletic position, get down and you give them the same push. And it's like they don't go anywhere because their body can adapt that force through it, down into the ground. And so it's like, that's the adaptability of, and I always use that as the simplest definition of health. If I could interchange one word with health, it would be adaptation. Mm-hmm. And so the better we can adapt, the healthier we are. Yeah. And that's really what we're trying to do with this, this enhancing and optimization of your body. It's like, how well can we adapt to the oncoming stressors? If you ever get diagnosed with cancer, do you want to be at an optimal level of adaptation? Do you want to be able to handle that? Or do you want to be so rigid that your body can't recover from any of the treatments that you're going to undergo? Mm-hmm. We've had a couple people go through cancer treatment that we've worked with, while they're going through there, and they've responded and recovered really, really well. Versus, people that just, and again, it's unfortunate, we can go back into the societal, the model is wait until it's broke until you fix it, rather than, hey, let's check it. Let's check you regularly. Let's check in. Let's do some, maintenance and routine work on yourself so that, when you do get into the crisis or the stress, you're able to adapt to it much, much better.
Yeah. And it's really just getting people to see and understand. I mean, we say all the time, we say from the day one, that's why we have these nice videos that we watch at our day one and day two. And, it's just constantly explaining that we do things differently. Yeah. If it's, again, if you're that person, we always say, if you're that person who's addicted to the crack, which is, you just like the feeling of that, the twisting, popping, cracking, how many chiropractors are there out there that you can do that and you can get, but it's like, if you were really truly trying to get healthy, if you were trying to make corrections, if you were looking for long-term wellness, that's what we do here. And it's an education process, because chiropractic, obviously there's clearly been at some point a split and it's gone in two very different directions.
Yeah, and that's, without, we don't want to go down that road. But right. I mean, again, you're right.
It's just getting people to understand, because I think sometimes people just, they walk in the door and they just think, oh, chiropractor, okay, you're just going to adjust me once or twice, I'll feel better, and then I'll go on my way, because that's probably what they've done or what they've heard other people's experiences has been. And so that's where, again, the education is really important. And the analysis, that we do here is just if you can't look at that. I love when I'll overhear sometimes you guys showing x-rays to people, and I love when even before you say anything, they go, "Oh, I don't think that's supposed to look like that." They're like, it's just, that doesn't. So I mean, they're already seeing and kind of self-diagnosing and understanding that, okay, or even the thermal scan. I'll do that very first scan on someone. They haven't even watched the video yet to know what a thermal scan is, and they're like, "Oh, that doesn't look good." I'm like, because they're recognizing that it looks, usually they're right, and it's like that, but I'm like, they're just understanding, okay, that looks intense, and that would explain, so they're already starting to put that connection together in their mind, and it's like, okay, well, it's a good thing you're here, and we'll explain how and how we're going to get you there, and...
Yeah, well, and that's where we have the tools to analyze. You do a lot of functional movement patterns when you're working one-on-one with people in terms of, hey, can you get down onto the floor, get back up, just get down into a chair and get back up, and analyzing those functional movement patterns and, and helping people understand how we can strengthen and come up with a plan. But I think it all comes down to, we have to have assessments to be able to determine and help someone understand where they truly are in this path to, optimal wellness, and where they are on this road to recovery, what phase of care they might be in, because most people do come in, they start care in acute crisis, they've got a lot of symptoms that are flared up, but then, helping them understand where they'd like to get to. So it's like, those are two key points that we really strive to help everyone understand when they come into the office. It's like, where are you starting at? Where ultimately do you want to get to? Because then we can come up with the best recommendation, to get you there. And then again, it's like, once you do get to that level of, optimizing and enhancing your health, it's like, I always say, my goal is to get everyone to a point where they are comfortable and they're feeling, strong and functional enough where they could continue that functionality, that optimal level of health at a once a month, check-in. But some people's level of stress and activity level is they need to check in every other week or once a week because they have a high, they have a high level of stress. They're just go all the time. They wear their body out a lot. And so it's like, if that's the way you're gonna run your life, that's fine, but you just are probably gonna need some more work, in recovery.
Yeah.
So, but I think at the end of the day, that's the big thing. It's just helping people understand where are they starting at, where ultimately would they like to get to, because there are some people who just, they've got some simple aches and pains and they just want to feel a little bit better. And hey, a couple of adjustments could make a big difference with that. So going over an exercise, regimen that they could do on their own at home for, you show them in 20, 30 minutes, hey, these are what you should do on a daily basis to build a good foundation. And it's like, we give them those adjustments, give them that plan. And it's like, all right, well, check back in with us when you feel you might be backsliding a little bit or maybe ready to take it to the next level. So it's really just about getting to, the understanding of where people are and where they'd like to get to. But we also don't lie to people, if we think when our recommendations and we want to try and take someone to a certain level, but they're thinking like, oh, it's going to be way less time or way less, it's like, well, I don't think we can help you or get you there, because if I think that, hey, you've had, 5 to 6 decades of damage, in your spine, and I'm seeing that on your x-ray, and you've got some of these chronic things going on in your nervous system, and you think you're gonna, feel better in, a couple visits or even after a month of care. It's like, our understanding of where we're at is completely opposite. And at the end of the day, if we decide like not to work together, that's okay too. Like, we're some of the least pushy people when it comes to, plans and helping, we're just trying to help people to get to where they want to, but there's also a reality in terms of, there's going to be a certain level of care and commitment, if you want to reach a certain level. So if any of that resonated with you, or if you, you know, if you want to get evaluated, or you know someone, or if you're a current patient and you know someone that, you know, might want to take advantage or just kind of figure out where they are in their health journey, and, you know, how our office, you know, or other, you know, health routines might be able to make a better fit, you know, we would love to answer any questions that you have. You can always reach out through our website, Turo, Turo, familychiropractic.com. You know, reach out to us by email, and I think, well, I don't know if we have the licensure to be able to take a picture and put that up. So
come see us in the office.
Come check out the Road to Recovery map in the office, and we can discuss that more. So we don't want to do any copyright infringements by putting that image out there. But yeah, I'm Dr. Dan,
Dr. Riley,
Angela,
and we'll see you at the next one. Thanks for stopping by.
You've been listening to What the Health with Dr. Dan and Angela Toro, brought to you by Toro Family Chiropractic. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.whatthehealth.world.